Hello everybody and welcome back to Tlatoani, where we've been struggling to get our prosperity to rise here. And I think a big part of it is just we're not exporting, I think, correctly. I want to give a trial to something. So this is exporting to Chalco here. This is also to Chalco. This is to Tlacopan. So what I want to do is I want to hop over here, and Chalco, as we can see, can import up to 80. I believe if we over-import this, which it's currently not happening, I believe that this drops in price if we over-import that. I don't have proof of that, but I want to find out. So this is supposed to be 80, if I remember correctly. Yeah, yes. So down over here, this is 120 to Melanalco, which is here. So let's bring that down to 120. And then this is these guys up over here. So then that would be 40. Just 40. So let's bring that down like that. And then we've got all of this excess cotton over here. I'm going to send that to the capital. It's going to be way, way lower in terms of what it will, what it'll pay, right? But we'll see what that actually does. Is that going to be a rise or a fall in our amount of axe monies? That'll be interesting. Then we can look at these other trading posts here, right? So we can look at what else is imported here. Maize, timber, cotton. So that is this one. So maize, timber, and cotton, huh? We can export some maize. That's fine. We can export some timber as well. That's not an issue. So how much of each? It is 160 and 120. Okay. So 160 timber, or no, 160 maize and 120 timber, like that. And this is theoretically what they can accept. Okay. Then we can come over here and, well, actually, we can come over here. This is to Tlacopan. So Tlacopan is this one. They can accept pulque and cotton. So 120 cotton, and they accept... How much pulque was that? Well, we need to bring this down to 120 first. So how much pulque was that? That was 80. We'll see what ends up happening with this. This may or may not be better. I don't know. This will be an interesting experiment for sure. So Melanalco imports cocoa. Now, we can't actually do anything with that. 80 cloth and 120 cotton. Okay. So that would be cloth here, like that. And then we have a Chalco here. What do they get? That is these guys down over here. 200 fruit. Okay, that's interesting. So we'll export some fruit there. Pottery is 120, which I think we are already doing. I think that's out over here? Or here. Yeah, this is going to Chalco, 120 pottery. So that's already done. Furniture is already done, and cotton is already done. Okay, so we're going to get some of these moved on around, and that's absolutely going to be interesting. But hopefully that will cause us to raise up our amount of money that we're getting. I don't know that it will, though. We'll find out. So we'll give that a little bit of a go. In the meantime, of course, our prosperity is dropping, and this is likely due to our overall amount of money that we have. We can build just more trading posts and continue to spam like the capital with resources. That would be essentially free at this point. Pretty much everything that we export from here has to go to the capital unless we find a source of cocoa, which I kind of don't think we will. Probably not. So that's understood. We will see how this ends up going. I'm not convinced that this will be an improvement. It'll be interesting, for sure. So a gardener caught fire. We can absolutely think about putting more trading posts up over this direction, and I would like to do so. So I'm going to put a trading post here and a trading post here, and we're going to do stone roads up this direction. And then the question is, what are we going to do with these trading posts. That actually lines up pretty well. There's an outcrop out over here, so for now, we'll do something like this. Okay. So what are we going to do with these trading posts? That's an interesting question, for sure. I don't know. We could export some maize, but I don't want to export more maize, ideally. We could export something like pottery or cloth, or we could just have these be more cotton exports. That's a theoretical option. None of these are actually exporting at this moment, and that's very interesting. They don't appear to be working. So that's noted. So I'm just looking at our housing here at this point. We have 6 small cottages, 28 large cottages, 14 fancy cottages. We have 2 fancy houses. We have a lot of large and small houses at this point, and these small houses are actually a pretty significant issue, I think. Civil service, huh? Where might we be able to squeeze in some civil service out over here? We could get some here, but there's a collector here already. That's going to be closer. There's this collector here that doesn't reach over here due to this cistern. But we could take out these sections of garden and bring in road over here like this, which would get the collector to at least some of these, but it wouldn't get it out over here. And we can just move those gardens to be down over this way, right? So something kind of like that. So we've got a collector here. That doesn't reach these. This collector reaches basically the same thing with this in here. That's unfortunate. What else can we do? I'm just thinking about how we could move things around. There's a space here that we could put a collector in. I don't know that that would reach. That's the issue. If this doesn't reach, I doubt that this would. Maybe it would. Let's try it anyway. So we can get those gardens out, and we can move them to be right back over here. At least some of them. The other one could go like up here. This is fine for now. And then we could think about putting in a collector right over here. Would that reach? It would. Okay, perfect. So that would reach. That gets us some civil service in this area. That's good. So we'll get that going. These guys want to be closer to their place of work. So none of that is particularly surprising, is it? Not really. Not really at all. What about up over this direction? Closer to their place of work. Yeah. So none of that is particularly shocking. Out over this direction, I want these to be going with the capital, and we're just going to export more cotton up here. It's a low price to export to the capital, but I don't think that we can oversaturate the capital. I think the capital will just take whatever we send it. So we'll let that go for now. And that'll be okay. So we'll get going on that. Now, we currently need more jobs. That's not terribly surprising. I want to come down over here and look for some of those small cottages. This home has everything it needs. This home needs access to a sweeper. I mean, we could put one in. So that would end up going, like, up over here, perhaps? That would reach this guy. So that seems good. So we'll just do that. I thought about putting it here, but I would prefer it up over this way, and that seems good. Where else do we have a small cottage? Down over this way, perhaps? Those are large cottages. Here's a small cottage. It wants more diversion. We could fit an alcove up over here. I don't know that that would reach. It'd be close. I don't think it would. But what about here? I don't think that would reach either. It's got to go here. Which means the alcove goes here. Those small gardens can be removed and can be replaced down over this way. And this alcove can go in, as soon as this small garden is actually removed, this alcove can go in right here. Now, we've got these mosaics. And that might be able to improve the ambience up over here. So, for now, I'm going to go through and replace the intersections with mosaics. We'll see if that's enough. If it's not, we can replace maybe every tile of road over here. So it would be something kind of like this, right? Something akin to that. And we'll see if that boosts up the ambience over here. It should, at least somewhat. So hopefully that'll be good. And then we can look to find additional problems. So there's a small house over here and over here. Those are mostly just issues with their place of employment. Okay. So not an issue up here. What about here? Yeah, that's place of employment. Place of employment. Indeed. So that's all relatively fine. We did start building some houses out here. These want diversion, and that's absolutely fair enough. We should also make sure that this aqueduct actually gets built out over here. That would be useful. Why did I put stone road here? That's not supposed to be stone road. We're supposed to have stone road here, for sure. And then this is supposed to be aqueduct right through here. So that would go like this. We still need to do this Chinampa, so we're not quite ready over there yet. That's fine for right now. So, we're at 52 prosperity. We have risen our prosperity a little bit out over here. Now, are these guys also complaining about ambience? They are. So let's go ahead and start putting in mosaics. I'm assuming mosaics are higher ambience than stone road. Do mosaics break water piping? That's an interesting question. Well, we see that this basin here is still a basin. Yeah, I don't think they break water piping. I think it's fine. We'll see if this basin downgrades. We'll keep an eye on that. It doesn't say that it can pipe water, but we'll see. There's this basin out over here, of course, which will be absolutely fine. But this basin, if it breaks water piping, should downgrade after a little while. But let's come down over here and let's work on getting some mosaics into these intersections just to beautify this region a little bit. Let's put some down over this way, and we're just attempting to get these nobles a little happier. There's actually not that many intersections out over on this side. It's kind of interesting. But we can just do something kind of like this and get those mosaics in. So the mosaics are under construction. Checking it up over here, this is still a basin as of right now. Okay. So that looks good. The ambience is still holding back development on this large estate. Have we actually finished up the mosaics here? Yes. So we can see that the ambience here is now considered great. Interesting. So what happens if we start going through and replacing all of our road with mosaics? That'll be interesting for sure. And the size of those are pretty large, 3x3. I'm going to replace this entire stretch of road here with mosaic. The question here is twofold. One, how much does that give us for ambience? And two, does this break the basin's water connection? We'll find out. Okay, so that's all looking relatively good. these mosaics aren't fully built at this point. And that's absolutely fine. We'll keep an eye on this situation. I want to check in down over this way, and I want to see... Okay, so this is a modest palace, this is a modest palace, this is a modest palace. I do want to get some ambience up over here for sure. So I'm going to do, like, every tile that is directly adjacent to this guy, and we'll see if that gets him to upgrade. Just this one. This is experimentation out over here. Our prosperity has risen to 54, and of course, we still need diversion out over this way. So I think a sauna is definitely a good thing to put in, and let's get those put in. We also need to Chinampa right there. So let's put in a sauna and an alcove. I'm going to do the alcove right up over here. Yeah, that's fine. And then the sauna is going to go in somewhere around here. Cool. So we'll get that going. That'll boost up the diversion in this area for sure. And these guys want to live closer to their place of work. Of course they do. So for now, I want to check back in up over here. This is still a basin, so that looks absolutely fine. We're still having ambience issues here. If we check out over this way, we're still having ambience issues. So this is a fabulous ambience at this point. What else do we need in terms of ambience? I mean, we can continue to burn through small mosaics out over here, right? That's absolutely fine. We can't click and drag these, so we just kind of have to go through and replace every single one of these. For now, I'm doing this entire little area here, and we'll see what that brings our ambience to. This is now a very fancy region. Very fancy indeed. So I'm seeing that our axe monies are still kind of holding neutral. We may want to continue to expand our trading posts. I'm noting that these two trading posts are not currently full. So that's noted. And these guys, they're definitely doing stuff. So that seems okay. So checking in down over here now. Diversion. It's different. They want an alcove or a ball court nearby. So this is now sufficient on the ambience up here, but this is not. So a ball court, we can only build one of. We've already built our ball court. It's not nearby here, but they do want an alcove, which we can absolutely slap in an alcove somewhere around over here or even up over here. And I think there is where I'm going to put it. So that looks good. And then I guess we'll just continue to make this area ridiculous with the mosaics. We can't do the mosaics in the aqueduct crossings, but that's absolutely fine. So we'll just do this little area out over here next. And that'll substantially boost the ambience of this palace. And then we'll put in some mosaics going down this direction. About like that. That will boost the ambience of this palace, in theory, and we should probably just go ahead and run these mosaics all the way up over here. Not there. Thank you very much. I wish I could click and drag these like roads, but this is fine. Okay, so this area is very fancy now. Up over this way, I'm checking in on this basin. It seems fine. Okay. So apparently mosaics run piped water. That's good to know. So up over this direction, now we need cacao to develop. And that, I think we're going to have to import. From the capital, no less. So that would be somewhere up over here. This is with Tlatoani. Here's the capital. So we would have to import some cocoa out over here. And does that require a large market to be distributed? I believe so. I don't think that would work through a small market. Correct. Okay, so this large market needs to have a porter yard nearby. Here's one, actually, that is getting cacao and can deliver it right there. Perfect. So there's that, and then down over this direction, that delivers to the royal palace as well. Then out over here, we have our additional nobles feeding from this large market. So we're going to need something up over here that is getting cacao. And what do we have nearby? There's also this large market out over here. So we've got this porter stop, that's on weapons and armor. This porter yard over here. This could work. Okay. We can be getting cotton over here and getting cacao. I don't think that we need to get anything else for this market. Everything else appears to be filled except for maybe jewelry. But for the moment, I'm not too concerned about that. Let's build a crossing there so that this supplies this market. Now, we still need to supply this market. And the question is, how are we going to go about doing that? Well, we could certainly consider putting something in over here. Or we could just put it in right here, but I think over here is a better place. So we've got room over here for a full-size porter yard, and I think I'm just going to do that. We'll just get that in there. This is going to be on timber, clay, and stone, as usual for now. We may change that later, but let's have this be getting cacao as well. Okay, that should get us a source for all of our nobles at this point. They need cacao to develop over there. This one over here wants ambience, and that's not shocking. So we definitely want to put in some mosaics down over this way. So let's get some of this going right up through here. And this alone may be enough ambience. We'll see. So just get this area nice and fancy through here. There we go. And what else are we going to need over here? Potentially more ambience, but for now, that seems fine. Now, I want to check in over here. These guys haven't developed yet. They want more education and more religion. Okay, fair enough. We can definitely bring a stone road out and around here and out and around here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in our education here. So that's just going to be one of these guys. And then we can put in like a couple of shrines. I don't really care to whom. But we can put in, say, a shrine here. That's average symmetry, and then that's good symmetry. So that should get this area, hopefully, developed up. Okay. So do we have any noble estates up here? I don't think we do. So this down over here still wants ambience, and we should definitely work on the beauty over in this direction, for sure. So let's get this boosted up. Lots and lots and lots of beauty over here. So this entire area over here, I want to swap over to mosaics. Excellent. So that's going to be a lot more ambience. I do want to continue to head down this direction and then out over here. And of course, this is our royal palace and our great temple down over here. So actually, this one could be a large mosaic, right? Large mosaic's a little on the big side. We'll just do 4 small mosaics. It's okay. There isn't a 2x2 mosaic, which I think is a little odd. But yeah, let's get ourselves some ambience in here. And of course, we're still waiting for our cocoa to start flowing. It'll happen eventually. Okay, so something kind of like that will hopefully boost up the ambience in this area. I think we'll just go up to about here or so. And we'll call something like that pretty good. And then maybe do this block as well around our great temple and our royal palace. So that'll be something along the lines of this. Okay, and then the royal palace. Right through here. Perfect. There we go. Did I call this a royal palace? It's the Great Temple. Okay. So at this point, improvements are under construction here, and this still wants ambience. Really? I'm assuming some of these mosaics aren't done yet. Yeah, that's the issue. So that seems fine for now. Down over this direction, this estate has everything it needs for the moment. Needs cocoa, and cotton. So cotton gets delivered over here, and we do have cotton being gotten over this way. Do we have any... Well, yeah, we do. So the question is, do we need more cotton production? Are we exporting too much cotton? Because the cotton is not currently arriving down over here, or it might just take a little time. Our prosperity has dropped to 49. Okay. These homes still haven't developed, but they're working on it. Okay, that seems good. And of course, we definitely want to get the aqueduct down over here finished. So let's get that in there. Make sure that we have our road crossing right there. So that will upgrade our water out over here. That'll be good. And then the question is, what else do we need? Still ambience over here. I'm assuming that a lot of these mosaics aren't built yet. And this one wants more education, specifically a library. I'm considering putting a library right over here. Yeah, we could definitely do that. So that would require clearance of that. And we'll go ahead and do that. So that can go in right there. Perfect. And then we, of course, could put in those gardens elsewhere. A couple of them got cleared out. So something kind of like this. So that'll be fine. The next question is, are we going to be delivering Amate to that library? And I doubt that we are. We can definitely be getting some over here, and that will deliver it. So that looks good. Okay, what else do we need? This thing still wants ambience. That's wild. Are these mosaics built? I mean, they are. How do you still want ambience? That's insane. There's so much ambience right here. Can we build mosaics here? I don't know if we can or not. We can. Do it. Okay. More mosaics right in this area. That should boost things. So this modest palace has everything it needs for the moment. Let's check in down over this direction. So we see that this guy has everything it needs for the moment, and everything it needs, everything it needs, and everything it needs. Perfect. So that's going to need to be boosted up in terms of their construction levels, right? And that's absolutely fine. Down over this direction, they want more civil service down here, which is not surprising in the slightest. Let's go ahead and put in a collector that wants a scenic neighborhood, but this is technically a scenic neighborhood. Either way, we're going to block one of these. I think I'm going to block this one, and we'll have the connection come in right here. Okay, so that seems fine. We'll get more civil service down over this way. And what else do we need over here? Well, we maybe need more housing. So we can definitely put in housing right up here, although that would need to be chinampa'd. So we would need to do that. And then we can put in more housing out over this direction. This is, of course, kind of wasted space over here. I kind of wish I had put the Aqueduct 1 up from here. Yeah, I kind of wish that. For sure. We probably should. We should move it. So that would mean taking all of this road out and moving that aqueduct up a little bit. I think that's a good idea at this point. I definitely want to do that. But it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm noting our axe money is slipping, and I'm not terribly shocked about that one. That's probably because we're exporting to the capital, right? So that's likely what's happening. So I think this experiment ended up being a bit of a failure. We can definitely move up our cotton exports here and just max these out and maybe start producing some additional cotton. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, Rornaz, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.